All right, guys, no introductions needed.
No introduction needed. Okay, so like I was just saying, it's a little bit last minute. I basically thought of this in the last 30 minutes. So it's going to be a couple of different ideas I'm going to try working together. So this parsha is a little crazy. There's a lot to write about, a lot to think about, a lot to talk about. But basically, we all know how the parsha starts, Lecha, right? And basically, Avraham is faced with task after task, and for every task, basically, God says, "Do this task, and I will make a great name for you. Do this task, and I will make your seed like the stars. Like you'll have as many kids as the stars, the sand." And like time after time, Avraham just does it. Now it's interesting because towards the end of the parsha in Perek Tedvav, Avraham basically says, God says, God gives Avraham a task, and Avraham basically says, like, give me proof that you're actually gonna follow up on it. Avram's like, I can quote it. He says, "Vayomer Adonai Hashem b'mad eda ki ereshena." Right? He says, "How will I know that I'm actually gonna inherit the land?" So I have three questions on this, which I think I could connect all three of them together. First of all, is why now? Why is it now that he's asking God for proof? Why is it now that he wants to know how he's actually going to inherit the land? My second question is, there's something with the language, right? This is actually like, why does he say Vayomer Adonai Hashem, right? Why is it like that? And I had a third, but I'll leave it for now. To answer the first question, I saw something from Rav Soloveitchik that basically said that this is the first time that Abraham is being promised the land. Everything else has just been about his offspring. So I thought that was interesting because if you look a little bit earlier in the parsha in Perek Daled, you see that that's not true because God mentioned, he says, basically like walk the land and I'll make it for, and like he says, "Kum hitalech ba'eretz la'arka u'rachba ki lecha etznena," right? Rise, walk in the land to its length and to the breadth, for I will give it to you. So we have that, and we have a couple other promises where he says he's going to get the land. But one difference, the key difference, is the fact that one is Eretz Yisrael and one is not Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, there needs to be something a little bit different. So my question on that is, okay, what's that thing that's a little bit different? When you look to right after Avraham asked God to show him proof, God basically has Avraham do this weird thing where he's like, take from me a bunch of these animals, divide them all up, and then God basically takes out the insides, like cuts down the middle of the animals, takes out the insides and like puts it opposite of them. So they have the animals here and their insides here. Okay? All of a sudden these birds of prey come and they try to go eat the insides. But Avraham shoos them off. Okay, so what the heck does that have to do with anything? Right? When you look at the language, right, I think this is key. This is the first time in Tanakh that Adonai, right, Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud is being used. And the reason why is because Avraham didn't have a doubt that Hashem was the one that does everything. Avraham didn't have that doubt. And when you think about it, the Sforno, he says, what was Avraham's doubt? Avraham's doubt was that Bnei Yisrael, the future generations, would sin and then therefore wouldn't be able to get the land. Right? So that's what Avraham was worried about, is that the future generations would sin and then wouldn't be able to get the land. So then what the heck does that have to do with the language? What the heck does that have to do with what we just said? It's simple, right? God was the one that divided the animals from the insides out. God was the one that separated them. What he was doing was saying that Bnei Yisrael, they're going to be divided. You know, like directly after this, he talks about how they're going to be in Gullus for 400 years. They're going to be enslaved. All that stuff, classic like Haggadah, Pesach, Seder stuff. But he's saying they're going to be separated. But what's gonna keep them together? What's going to get them to ultimately inherit the land? What you just said, Adonai, right? The idea that the feeling of recognizing that no matter what, it's going to be from Hashem. You may struggle to see things. You may struggle to feel things. But if we're all able to fully recognize that it's from Hashem and internalize that it's from Hashem, then we'll be able to return back. We'll be able to inherit. We'll be able to follow through on everything that Abraham was doing. And that's what Abraham incorporates. Abraham incorporates that just undeniable belief that no matter what Hashem says to do something, he's going to do something. I think that's a huge lesson for us to learn. Right now, we're in that stage of Gullus. We're in the stage of being divided. right? We're in that stage like Hashem's talking about where we're all separated. We have birds of prey coming after us all the time. We have tidals coming after us all the time. So what can we do to get better? What can we do to ultimately inherit it? Work on internalizing the idea that God is internalizing the idea that everything is coming from God. And once we're able to fully recognize and internalize that, so we'll be able to unite as a nation and ultimately inherit the land like it was promised to Abraham.
Shkoyach!